Professor Christine Fair, what is the view from Washington? We had a rather banal statement by American President Donald Trump, who for some reason keeps reiterating that India and Pakistan have been fighting for thousands of years, and he said something pretty similar today. But I'm imagining what is said on camera is less important than what's actually going on behind the scenes. This administration is seen to be less soft on Pakistan than the Biden administration was. What is, in your estimation, the view from DC?
30 here. So I'm not sure.
I know. Sorry about that.
I'm not sure we have a view coming in from DC. I mean, when you elect a clown, you should expect a circus. So I don't think we should be looking for leadership from the pronouncements of President Trump. But I do repose a lot of confidence in Paul Kapoor. I don't know if he's been confirmed yet, but he was the person that was tasked to be the Assistant Secretary of State for South Asia. He and I have long discussed Pakistan, and we are pretty much of the same minds about what Pakistan does, why it does it, and with what resources. He wrote a book called Jihad as Grand Strategy, which for anyone who knows Pakistan knows that that's a pretty apt description. So, I agree with everything that Ambassador Sinha has said. Unfortunately, I don't think that this strategically changes Pakistan's calculus. I think this has been a really important demonstration of escalation, the ability to target the Punjab. We don't know, by the way, how Pakistan is going to respond. Just as we don't know fully what munitions were used, we don't have independent casualty assessments. We just have explosions that happen in the darkness. Quite frankly, that's not terribly elucidating. But we also have unconfirmed reports of Indian aircraft going down. The New York Times reports at least one Indian official who confirmed 3 aircraft have been down, although the reasons for the aircraft being down were not given and stated is unclear. So
and as of now, sorry to interject there. I just wanted to say, as of now, we have a formal statement from the Press Information Bureau on those fighter jets saying that Pakistan has shared old pictures. In fact, I think we have that PIB release. So as of now, that's what we have. The images that have been shared.
I'm going to say this. We also had a lot of things come out of Pulwama that weren't true either. So I'm a professor. So my job is not to take press reports at face value. My job is to wait for data to come in. So for me, this is an uncomfortable position because I don't like giving live commentary on things when so little is known. But what we do know is that Pakistan is going to have to respond. For all the reasons that Ambassador Sinha had noted, the Punjab, and as you yourself had noted, the Punjab is really ground zero for much of what happens in Pakistan. And the Pakistan Army, which hasn't been discussed yet, is really at its nadir in public opinion. Many Pakistanis have soured on the Pakistan Army, which is an extraordinary development, largely because of its treatment of Imran Khan. And so this is going to be used by the Pakistan Army to burnish its credentials at home amidst its flagging reputation. So we're going to have to expect some response from Pakistan. And then I think the most important question for those of us that have studied the India-Pakistan, or I would say Pakistan's conflict with India, is what's going to be the de-escalation off-ramp. What we had in 2019 was the Dusre Banda Di Kahani, which allowed the Indians to say there was a second pilot, which allowed the Indians to come up with this narrative that it shot down an F-16. And that, along with the return of Abhinandan, was part of the escalation, de-escalation off-ramp. So what I'm looking for is, after Pakistan responds, what's going to be the natural de-escalation pathway to this crisis?
Christine Fair, before I get to the de-escalation, if I can just ask you to talk a little bit about the Lashkar and the Jaish. One of the things that puzzles me, and I've done some commentary on Western media in between our live programming, is how little awareness there is of the Lashkar, of the Jaish as being extensions of the Pakistan Army, despite the fact that the United States, for example, recognizes the Lashkar as a terror group, as does the United Kingdom. Yet when Western media tells this story, they position this as a fight between India and Pakistan, as opposed to how Indians see it, which is that, listen, you sent your terrorists in, you killed tourists in Pahalgam, you targeted them this time for their religion, and India has a right to respond. So if you could speak a little bit about your understanding, Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar would have been taken into protection Pakistan would have been anticipating this, and they're bound to resurface later.
Correct.
Why are these two terrorists so critical to the Pakistan military?
So the two organizations are distinct for or are important for very different reasons. So for one, so what both have in common is that both organizations only attack outside of Pakistan. They have never conducted operations within Pakistan itself. Now, when it comes to Jaish-e-Mohammed, which is a Deobandi organization, it has overlapping membership with Lashkar-e-Jungvi, Sipe-Sabe, Pakistan, and the TTP. So elements of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, and of course they share an archipelago of Deobandi mosques and madrasas. So there is a component of the Jaish that contributes to Pakistan instability. And the way the Pakistan army has used Jaish-e-Mohammed, it's really as a Ghar Wapsi movement for wayward Deobandi terrorists. Don't fight in Lashkar-e-Jungvi and kill Pakistanis. Come back to Jaish-e-Mohammed and kill Indians. So Jaish is a very disciplined organization, and it also serves, as I said, as this Ghar Wapsi program for wayward Deobandi terrorists who are striking deep in India, in Pakistan. Lashkar-e-Taiba is a very different organization. Lashkar-e-Taiba has never really splintered. The splinters, if they've occurred, they've been very minimal over time. And Lashkar-e-Taiba really kills at the behest of the Pakistan army. Unlike Jaish-e-Mohammed, which has this very diffuse, it's like a network of networks with these other Deobandi organizations, the leadership chain of Lashkar-e-Taiba is very tight and is very vertically organized institution. And it exclusively kills at the behest of the Pakistan army. But just as Jaish-e-Mohammed has a domestic purpose, so does Lashkar-e-Taiba. Lashkar-e-Taiba is very much at odds with the Islamic State, very much at odds with the Deobandi institutions that engage in takfiri, and they institutionally and ideologically provide a bulwark against those organizations. So both organizations provide really important services to the Pakistani state in terms of domestic policy and domestic security, as well as external security, which is killing at the behest of the army in India and at different points in time, also in Afghanistan.
Thank you. I think that was a brilliant explanation of the Lashkar and the Jaish. I'm just going to read out the two comments that you made, the quotable quotes. The Jaish is a Ghar Wapsi of sorts for Deobandi terrorists, and the Lashkar really only kills out at the behest of the Pakistan army. Both terror groups never kill within Pakistan. That's a critical point. Again, because public memory is so short, Ambassador Sinha, Masood Azhar was released during the hijacking of the IC-814 in exchange for the safety of the hijacked passengers on board that plane in 1999, shortly after the Kargil war. Asim Munir seems set on being a crazier version of Musharraf. And therefore, my question now becomes, India doesn't seek escalation. Pakistan needs some sort of face saver. And that brings us to Professor Fair's question. How do both countries pull back from the brink? Or is this going to step up on the escalatory ladder before it comes down? Ambassador Sinha.
No, I think Professor Fair is extremely accurate in her description of how these two organizations operate outside Pakistan and the kind of control structure that they have. The problem that I have faced, I see in our relations with Pakistan, is that when Pakistan does something wrong, for example, when Hafiz Saeed was released and there were other terror acts committed by Pakistan, then we let Pakistan off the hook, as did the Western countries. So instead of putting continuous pressure upon Pakistan to take action against these people, just because they had been released during the hijacking incident does not mean that they then could become normal citizens of Pakistan and live happily inside Pakistan. The international pressure had to continue, but not only did the Western countries release that pressure on Pakistan, we also did the same thing. We also started talking to Pakistan and then started having relations, composite dialogue. The result was that Pakistan thought that it could get away with these things. And that is the main problem that I see in our relationship with Pakistan, that we do not take into account the continuous use of terrorism as a weapon of state policy by Pakistan, both inside India, inside Afghanistan, in Iran, and the three major countries that are neighbors of Pakistan. And China also is scared of the terrorists supported by Pakistan. And yet the world lets Pakistan get off the hook. And the result of this is that then we get into incidents like Pahalgam, and then we have to retaliate militarily. Whereas if there was sustained pressure upon Pakistan politically and economically, then it would be possible to put some pressure upon the army and the civilian leadership of Pakistan to get rid of this terror machinery. But we don't do that. Pakistan was taken off the grey list in FATF, and everybody accepted that. Earlier, the fact that Hafiz Saeed is roaming freely after having been released after a hijacking meant that Pakistan should have been kept under economic sanctions by the Security Council, but nothing like that happened. We did not even move for it. So this sustained pressure upon Pakistan is extremely important.
Yeah, I just want to read out the statement from the UK Foreign Secretary talking about global response. David Lammy has said that the current tensions between India and Pakistan are a serious concern. The UK government is urging India and Pakistan to show restraint and engage in direct dialogue. I have made it clear to my counterparts in India and Pakistan that if this escalates further, nobody wins. The UK was clear in its condemnation of the terrorist attack in Pahalgam last month. Now, Professor Christine Fair, this brings us to, I think, Dilip Sinha's question. The world allows Pakistan to get off. India, too, has done sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, can't seem to make up its mind on whether, I think that's what Ambassador Sinha is saying, at least in the past, that used to happen. And even the Modi government initially started by sort of some kind of outreach, and then it changed, right? It changed post-Uri. I can understand previously that America in particular, thought it needed Pakistan for its ops in Afghanistan. Why now? Is it ignorance? Is it a lack of priority? Do they not get it? What is the reason that Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar are able to live as openly with the impunity that they do? Because after all, 6 Americans were killed in the 26/11 attacks, and the Lashkar-e-Taiba was very clearly behind those attacks.
So I have to share your incredulity. So going to the statement by the British, I mean, we have to sort of remember the British have always avoided blaming Pakistan. The reason for that is that there are really important Pakistani origin vote banks in the UK. The British were very loath to act against British origin Pakistan origin terror cells, for lack of a better word. So the Brits have their own domestic motivations, because a lot of the Pakistani migrants to the United Kingdom are actually Mirpuris. So we kind of have to remember that the UK has a lot of different motivations. What's more mysterious is that of the United States. For many years, the United States would also offer these milquetoast, both sides need to do this, both sides need to do that. Obama made a very serious departure from that in 2016. Obama did not encourage both sides to pursue peace through negotiation. Obama stated very clearly the American support for India's right to defend itself. And what we've seen under Trump is a retrenchment from that. And it's I don't know if it's because the Trump administration itself is so bereft of history, and it's generally clueless. I mean, what I will say, very generally speaking, about new governments coming in. There's, for example, Marco Rubio. He's there not because Marco Rubio is a distinguished, knowledgeable person when it comes to diplomatic affairs. He's there because he's a Republican and he will basically carry out Trump's bidding. In fact, all of Trump's cabinet has been selected not because they have any professional competence, but rather because they're sycophants and they won't challenge him. So it's going to be particularly difficult, I think, working with the United States. As I said, I'm really bullish on the influence of Paul Kapoor. I'm not. I should have checked before we did the show this morning the status of his confirmation, but I'd like to believe that even if he hasn't been confirmed, that he is still providing guidance and sagacity to this administration. But if that is the case, it's not evident in the statements that we've issued, which is this both sidisms. But to your larger question, I think I'm going to state what's really obvious. Pakistan gets away with what it gets away with because of its nuclear arsenal. Pakistan has one of the fastest growing nuclear arsenals in the world. It's why it gets away with terror strikes in India. It knows that while there will be these episodic conflict slides, that their escalation to a full-fledged a full-fledged war is very unlikely because of nuclear weapons. And Pakistan terrorizes the international community into believing that if, for example, Pakistan were to have been put on the blacklist for FATF, as it so rightly deserved, it wouldn't have access to IMF funding, and then it would economically become insolvent, and that would usher forth or precipitate greater insecurity challenges. And this gins up, I think they're far-fetched, but this gins up breakage of the states, breakup of the Pakistan army. It raises security of Pakistan's nuclear weapons. And these are very, very low probability events, so improbable that I don't think that we should even be imagining them. But the Pakistan uses the fear around these low probability events to blackmail the international world. So the international community. So Pakistan is essentially a nuclear blackmailer.